So yeah, I haven't done this in a while, and I know I probably start off many videos with that statement because staying consistent with YouTube is one of the banes of my existence. I think it's because it feels very vulnerable, but at the same time it feels good to express myself and to be honest and to just express what's on my heart. The truth is, this past year has been one of the hardest years of my life and one of the best. It's been extremely challenging, but I also feel extremely grateful and blessed at the same time that I get to even live the life that I'm living right now. And it feels like so weird because it's like I'm living in such like a paradox. It's been really challenging. I had the window open, so there's a bunch of flies in my apartment now, just so you know. It's been really challenging, I mean, for a lot of different reasons. About a year ago, I was cheated on, and it was a very traumatic event for me that actually ended up kind of unearthing a lot of past traumas, specifically childhood, teenage trauma that I went through in my life. And it felt like it all kind of came to a head this year in a way that, I mean, I wasn't expecting at all. You know, there's always going to be this part of me, this optimistic, sort of everything happens for a reason, positive part of me that wants to kind of butt in and be like, yeah, this year was challenging, but I learned a lot, which is true, but it really did take a toll. It took its toll on me. And I know on the other side of all this, I will be stronger and wiser because of it. So there's that paradox again, where I've never felt such deep grief in my life, but also such beauty in it all. And I think I'm saying it in that way because, you know what? I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. I can't. I guess I just want to recognize how freaking difficult it's been, but also a blessing. And the blessing hasn't fully shown up or has integrated in my life yet, but I can feel it. Like, it all had its purpose this year, okay? So, to go a little deeper, and I always kind of struggle with, you know, like expressing personal stuff because I am an open book, but I also want to respect other people's privacy because obviously other people were involved. So I'm going to try my best here. I was in a relationship soon after I moved up here to Vermont 2 years ago. I was in a relationship pretty quickly, and it's a very beautiful one. I'm still friends with him. I still care about him. But it was quite a trigger fest for the both of us. And you know how people say, you know, relationships are mirrors. I wouldn't say every relationship I've had has reflected back to me all my childhood trauma and my relationship with my father, but this one certainly did. You know, those relationships with the karmic qualities where it's so intense and so passionate and so intimate. And then it could also be just the next moment so distant, so triggering. so repulsive. I wouldn't say he's not repulsive, but that feeling of that push and pull, that dynamic, was in play in our relationship. And I wouldn't say, and not the whole time, definitely not the whole time, but I think definitely towards the end of it, where everything kind of just imploded. But basically, that whole event made me feel extremely sad, angry on a level that I don't think I've really felt before. And I didn't know was possible for me. Like blindingly angry, where all I could feel was that. And everything else would just turn off. My level-headedness, my rationality. I would just be blindedly angry, feeling so betrayed. Like, how the F could you do that? When you commit to someone who's given her heart to you, who trusted you. When I'm in a relationship, I invest myself so deeply into it, to the point that I can lose myself, And I did. And the hard mirror I had to face was, how was I betraying myself in that relationship? And I didn't know it at the time until, months and months later, when I could reflect more on it, that I was actively betraying myself throughout that relationship and through previous ones, where I kind of put everything in my life on hold to be with this person, spend time with this person, cook for this person, take care of this person. I want to be like the best partner. I want to be good enough for my partner. And ironically, I ended up being betrayed. I ended up feeling not good enough for my partner. My partner ended up pursuing this other person that had qualities that I didn't have and that I wasn't bringing to the table. And of course, that is incredibly, incredibly painful. And so I just went through this whole year questioning my self-worth, the wounds of not feeling enough, the wounds of not being enough for those I loved and cared about most in my life, not being accepted by them. Like so many of my childhood wounds came up. Feeling unseen, feeling misunderstood, feeling unseen for the investment and the time and the love that I pour into my relationships, and then just getting betrayed behind my back that was really difficult. And what's also really difficult about the whole thing is that you're kind of forced to look at yourself, how you showed up in the relationship. I know I wasn't perfect. My own traumas came into play. It was really hard to look at the pain that I still carried from my childhood and how that was it all resurfaced this year with that whole thing happening. It was really hard to look at because all I wanted to do instinctually, I just want to blame him, blame her, blame both of them for being so careless of my emotions, selfish, and yes, he's apologized. He's apologized a lot for it, and he felt and feels very bad and knows that it was a mistake, and yes, we all make mistakes. But anyway, all of this is to say that because of all that going down, along with the unearthing of my childhood trauma, My physical health has also been affected this year because of the stress. And honestly, I feel like I've had chronic stress my whole life. But this year it all like came to a head in a way. The anger, the sadness, the grief it took a toll on my body. It took a toll on my health. It's September and I've gotten my period once this year in May. So it's affecting my cycle. And I went to get a blood test about a month ago. A lot of the signs point to, and testing points to, adrenal related PCOS. In other words, stress is causing me to not get my period. And, you know, it's important to get your period. I've been in this imbalance for a long time. I mean, I've had irregular periods since my early 20s, but at this point it's been the worst it's ever been. The worst in the way that it hasn't been coming as regularly as it was before. And that and fatigue, I've been feeling fatigue, depression, lack of motivation. I've been waking up most days, 9 out of 10 days, just feeling like I didn't get any sleep. Once I'm out of bed and, you know, I do my yoga and stuff, I'm like fine, but I would wake up and feel so lethargic every single day. And yeah, that's been difficult. And at the same time, it's like I have to accept that this is just, you know, my body is just going through a healing process right now. I pretty much took time off. I mean, I wasn't working a super ton anyway this year, but I really took some time off the past few months to take care of myself. I didn't have the energy to work regularly anyway. So what I've been doing for the past couple months is I'd wake up and do at least 30 minutes to an hour of yoga, mainly yin yoga, which has been a lifesaver lately. Because I would wake up a lot of these days in fight or flight with my heart racing. It just reminds me of the feeling of when I had to wake up to an alarm every single morning in middle school and high school. It's the worst way to wake up, dude. Just like, what the heck? I'm not even waking up to an alarm these days, but I'm feeling that like adrenaline rush every morning to like get up. And I feel that most mornings, you know? And yeah, so yin yoga has really helped regulate my nervous system first thing. Like, I feel like I have to do it or else I'll be dysregulated for the rest of the day. So I start off with that, and maybe half the days I've been meditating. If I do like a longer yoga session, like an hour or something, I kind of skip the meditation, but half the time I do like 15 to 20 minutes. And then I just have a very slow morning. I try not to book anything or do any work in the mornings. Not that I'm doing that much anyway, but this week, I mean, has been a lot more than usual. But yeah, I don't start working until noon or 1. I make sure I take my time. Next thing I do is I make my matcha. That makes me feel, I don't know, just thinking about it just makes me feel so like, it's one of my favorite things that I do in the morning, my favorite rituals. And then I sit on my porch and I stare out into the mountains, take some deep breaths, and I thank God, and I sip on my matcha. And then I eat breakfast. That's how it's been lately. I'm healing, you know, I'm in a healing phase, and it really feels like that's what I needed to do. And I'm so grateful that I have this time and this space cut out for me to do that. And that's where I'm just like in awe of divine timing. Last month, I did a chefing gig, for a private retreat, 3 days, women's retreat, and I got paid 2 months worth of rent in 3 days. So that really helped. I'm just like, hallelujah, you know, like that really helped me just get these couple months mostly off. I still do work here and there, but to kind of tend to myself, take care of myself, reconnect with myself. These days I'm the most sensitive I feel like I've ever been in my life. And in some ways that's a good thing. In other ways it's very hard because it's new to me. My body feels like it's going through this long transition, and it's been really hard. I feel like my body's it feels old and rickety sometimes, and I have to like stretch it out so much. But anyway, yeah, I mean, my anxiety, like sometimes I'd be washing the dishes and my heart would start racing out of nowhere. I've been trying to do this like hour-long meditation every evening before bed with my friend. 2 days in a row, my heart ended up racing out of nowhere. I start ruminating on the past and what happened this year. And next thing I know, I'm just crying. There's part of me that's still not over what happened, even though it happened a year ago, you know? I am slowly, gradually letting go of it. And it feels good that I've come a long way, but it still affects me. It's like I'm going to therapy too. I'm doing EMDR, and one of the things we discussed the other day was how, you know, your childhood and what you experienced in your childhood and your relationship with your parents kind of are reflected in your romantic partnerships. One of the things that we discussed was how volatile and how unpredictable my childhood was, in the way that my parents were emotionally volatile, and you know, every day I'd come home from school not knowing what kind of mood my mom was in. I'd wake up not knowing what kind of mood my dad was in. So I kind of grew up with this fear, this underlying fear of like, oh, when is the next time they're gonna blow their fuse and get upset or angry and start yelling at us or yelling at each other. So I kind of like grew up with that still in my system, and I've kind of known that over the years, but this year it's become so apparent that my body is still holding on to that trauma of not knowing when the next explosion in the house is going to be. So it's like in the last 2 partnerships specifically, I felt unsafe. I felt unsettled. I felt this underlying feeling of anxiety in both relationships. And they were both unpredictable in their own way. So there was like this feeling of like, oh, I can't trust them or I can't rely on them. And I don't know what to expect, like what. And it wasn't like a conscious feeling that was in my face every day, but it was subtle. It was a subtle current. And as I'm discussing this with my therapist, it's like, okay, kind of connecting the volatility I experienced in my childhood. And now I'm attracting partners who I feel like kind of on edge with and not knowing what they're going to do next. And she was saying how, you know, maybe I'm attracting those partners into my life because it's what my nervous system has become accustomed to and used to. Because I grew up literally from the day I was born till whenever I officially moved out in my early 20s, that's a huge chunk of my life where I'm living in that way, and I'm still carrying that signature. I'm still carrying that trauma within my body of like, what's next? Like this fear. And it shows up so clearly in my relationships. Not all of them. I wouldn't say all of them were quite traumatic in the way that my last 2 were. But yeah, so I'm kind of like, you know, working through that idea. I've been journaling a lot, been reflecting a lot. I'm trying not to ruminate too much these days. Just trying my best to take care of myself. And I honestly, every time I make a video, I really love it because I get to express myself. And it feels good to just get things off my chest. And you know, I have friends and stuff, but I don't know. It's just something about creating YouTube videos where I feel like I can just be fully me and say whatever I want. Because no one's reflecting anything back at me or talking to me, so I'm just like spilling everything out to the ethers. And I find that it's helped people in the past, my rambling. So, I really miss this space. I really miss this creative outlet. And this whole year, I haven't really been able to focus on anything creative. I haven't really delved deeply and consistently into my own creative practices and work because I've been trying to freaking heal and regulate my nervous system this whole year. So I'm trying to just be gentle on myself and realize that there are time periods for everything. This year I needed to really prioritize my health, healing, and creativity and working on my stuff and being productive had to take a backseat. But I am feeling this new momentum now that I feel like I'm in a pretty relatively good space compared to the rest of this year, where I feel pretty grounded enough to return to all the things that I really love to do. So sorry for the hiatus for any 2 or 3 people who still watch my videos. Either way, it's just really helpful for me to express myself and be myself in this way. And so a little update on my life and where I've been and where I'm at. I'm still in Vermont. It's as beautiful as ever. So grateful to be here. Anyway, thanks for listening to my rambles. All right, I guess that's it. Okay, bye.